Everybody, come on in. Good evening, Jessica. Hello to Instagram. Let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Sorry for keeping you waiting just a couple moments. Hello, Quasia is here. Thank you so much for being here. All right, everybody. It is time again. Let me welcome you all back to the Wives Club. The Wives Club was started in 2021 when I booked a session with the late, great Kevin Samuels. Can't believe it's been 5 years. I was one of the women who wanted to talk to him one-on-one. Not for me. I always like to say that I am happily average, emphasis on the happily, but my heart always used to get convicted when I would hear him talking to women. I could see myself in a lot of those headstrong younger women. And so I wanted to help and I wanted to do my part. So in that session that I had with him, I wanted to create a community of like-minded and marriage-minded women, women that I could relate to. And this was before I had a channel, so I wasn't trying to do anything publicly, even though we're here now. But I asked permission in that session to create a community within his Patreon. And not only did he give us his blessing, he also came up with the name, the Wives Club. So what we would do every week after Kevin would go live on Instagram and on YouTube, we would obviously watch his content and then we would react to it from our own lived experience as former wives, as current wives, and as future wives. Because Kevin always used to say being a wife is a mindset. And even though I am a reformed modern woman and I was married for 10 years, had 2 boys within the marriage, I always say that I thought that career and corporate America and college education meant more than it does in the long run. So I just try to help younger women from my own lived experience. I got it right second time around, and I'm very happy. But so yeah, what we're going to do is we are going to review Kevin Samuel's most recent compilation stream. Even though he's no longer with us, his memory and his message still lives on. So every month they have a new broadcast, and let's just say it's his greatest hit. So I have some notes here. So if you see me looking down at my phone, I just want to respond hopefully in a way that is helpful, especially for and exclusively for the women who want marriage and family. If you want to do your own thing, that's totally fine. I just can't help you. All right. So this episode is called Your Relationship Blueprint Impacts Outcomes. And you all always remember Kevin saying life is about choices and trade-offs. So all of us are going to get some kind of outcome, but is it the outcome that you want? And if not, what can you do to course correct? All right. So I see you all on Instagram. Hello, Sundial, DJ, and Yanka, and Heavenly. And who all do we have here? We have Julian. Julian is crying. I don't know. Is it that bad already? Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And I see Bria. No, you didn't miss me. All right, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started. Bria says, exciting. Yes, this is my heart right here. I have so many students who are wives, and I'm so proud of the women that have chosen to prioritize marriage and family in their prime years, yet and still are looking for ways to get better and be better for their families. All right. So sit back and relax. I'm going to take my time here and go through my notes and hopefully give you all some helpful advice. And if you have questions, feel free to ask me. I'll do my best. And I always like to bring you all in the conversation. All right. So, in the beginning, what's the word? In the beginning of this episode, Kevin was talking about FBI women and CIA men. And you all know, although I am a boy mom, I just don't feel like I have a place to talk to men about their experience because I haven't lived it. But I do like to listen and learn and apply what we can, even if Kevin was talking to the men, apply that to what we can learn and get better. All right. So you all know Kevin was big on acronyms. And if you're unfamiliar, CIA for the men was confident, intelligent, and assertive. Sounds like Mr. President. And for ladies, our acronym was FBI, which is feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. And, Kevin did a masterful job of explaining this, but, my take on it is I've told you, ladies, a masculine man requires a feminine woman. This is not up for discussion. So if you think you can turn it on, turn it off. If you think you can be feminine once you've seen him, if you think you can play any of those games, you've already lost. All right. So femininity, it is our superpower. And that's what Lucy and I taught the women. But leading with your femininity is always a strength if you want a real relationship with a masculine man. All right. Beautiful. Like I say, I'm happily average, right? I'm not one of those people when I walk into a room, people like crane their neck to see who that is. Usually I win people over once you get to know me, and that's fine. Most of us are average, and it's better for us to realize that about ourselves, right? If you're not making money off of your looks, you're probably average, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Kevin used to say, be as pretty as possible. All right. Our students know we talked about this a lot, but make sure, ladies, when you leave the house, you are enhancing your natural beauty. We all have something, right? It could be your smile. It could be your hair. It could be your eyes. It could be your skin. It could be anything. But make sure you're enhancing that and not falling into being like sloppy or unisex or manly or any of that. It just turns men off if you care. And then inspirational. This one's probably my favorite. Ladies, our job is to inspire our men. We can't change them, but we can be one of the reasons why they live to fight another day. We can make experiences with us warm and welcoming. We can turn a house into a home. We can turn ingredients into a meal. We can turn a simple gathering into memories. So that is the inspiration, the way you love him, the way you treasure him, the way you respect him, the way you speak to him, the way you honor your husband. All of these are ways that we can inspire our men. All right. So that is FBI. So remember that all the time, ladies. Now, Kevin started in the monologue in this episode talking about the myth of the power couple. And he gave some examples of some power couples that have been, I guess, noteworthy, if you will. We all know in our community, especially, we have a few couples that we put up on a pedestal and everybody says, oh, that's goals, or that's who I want to be, or how I want to be, right? Hello, Cynthia. Thank you so much for being here. We got Alexis is here. Jam is here looking. Thank you all. I appreciate it so much. Okay. Now, interestingly enough, and Kevin did touch on this in this episode, but ladies, we've got to be really careful about this. Part of the reason why I'm such an advocate for marriage and family, not only because that's how I was raised, you all know I come from a traditional like an immigrant family, small town girl, still naive about a lot of things, even though I'm 50. I mean, I'm a grown woman, but when you marry young, that kind of keeps you out of the fray of all the stuff that's out here. All right. But the family unit and the broken family is hurting us in so many ways. Not only are men and women not coupling up, but the problem is we are not giving our children an example to aspire to, something that's real. You all know that I'm a boy mom. and the boys have their, little girlfriends. And, Marcus has started to come back and tell me, yeah, mom, I remember what you said. And I'm like, what did I say? But even though their dad and I divorced, we are lockstep in parenting. We will double up on those kids like nobody's business. And so they have seen an example of people working together, the extended family. We still get together for gatherings, we're forever family once you have children. Put a pin in that and remember it. But my point is this: when we don't give our children a real world example, then they start looking to the sun, the moon, and the stars for a fantasy. And that's what gets you caught up. That's what gets you not having the type of results that are real, because all you think about is what you see either in the magazines or on social media or on TV. And it's like, if it's not that, then I want nothing at all. And there's a whole spectrum of relationships. And let's tell the truth, we probably don't really want what is portrayed as relationship success. So, long-winded version of, the power couple, the man who's got it all and the woman who's got it all, that doesn't exist. Being a wife is a role. Relationships have roles. Kevin Samuels talked about this a lot. And I'm going to tell you, like Mr. President told me, CEOs don't marry CEOs. So, ladies, we really got to get that out of our head, that I'm going to be some type of big boss babe, and my man's going to be some type of big, whatever, and we're just going to rule the world together. Somebody's got to keep the home fires burning. And so you have to decide if that's you. I'm not telling you what you have to do, but somebody's got to do it. So a lot of times, especially ambitious and masculine and professional women are around these type of men, but they don't have access to these type of men. And that's one of the things that I bumped my head and had to realize, if I never want to feel that pain again, I got to really humble myself. And I have found that I'm so much happier, even though I have the big job and the big degree and all of that. It pales in comparison. All right. So be very careful about that. There is no such thing as a power couple. Somebody's actually got to do the work. Well, everybody's working, but you all know what I mean. So if you want to be the one out front, ladies, if you want to be the man in the relationship, that's an option too. But just know everything that comes with that. All right. You're going to be looking for the man to be the wind beneath your wings. And I don't think we're wired for that long run. All right. Priya says, around those men versus having access to those type of men. I never thought about that. Yeah, it's true. And this is where you get a lot of professionally accomplished women looking at the CEO's wife or the executive's wife, and you're like, I look better than her, I'm sharper than her, I have more money than her, I have all these things, and you're comparing it through your lens. But a man is not looking for his equal in professional accomplishments. All right. Yes, you can both work, but I'm saying that he's not looking for a business partner unless he is. There are marriages that are business relationships. But if you want something traditional, a man is looking for a support system, a woman who's going to inspire him to go conquer. And believe me, men can go further, faster, for longer than we can. I'm so glad that I course corrected while I still had time, because believe me, now that I'm 50, I really feel myself slowing down and looking forward to the second half as opposed to what am I going to do? All right. Unfortunately, that's happening to a lot of women. Okay. So we talked about the myth of the power couple. So we talked about some of the couples to look up to. You all know I don't usually call out names, but I think for this generation, you all hear of like Russell Wilson and Sierra. I think he said Will Smith and Jada. He named them in the episode, but I'm not going to talk about anybody's relationship, but I think we're much better set up for success when we approach life and relationships through a realistic lens. And when you see, like I remember watching my parents work, my dad worked at the Piggly Wiggly, which is a grocery store. My mom cut up fruit at Ryan's Steakhouse. They were both students and had to work because we're immigrants, so they had to pay out-of-state tuition, but still lead and provide. I saw my mom still serve and respect him. And so all of this was the example for me. So I wasn't confused as to what real marriage and relationships look like. All right, let's continue. So, as I said, with the myth of the power couple, one of the things that Kevin said is that when we don't have a realistic example, then perfection becomes what is expected. And that's not real, ladies. And there's a lot of us, Kevin said that in this episode, so many women who we ourselves are average, but our expectations are for perfection. And so in our mind, we don't want to settle for anything less. So we go without. And then you just say, I can do that all by myself. Well, if you want to carry that belief until you're 65, go for it. I mean, who am I to judge? But I think a lot of women would be happy. You can make something that's average beautiful. And I think that it may not be perfect, but it could be perfect for you. My man is perfect for me. I mean, I think he's perfect anyway, but you know what I mean? So all that matters is you all work together. Nobody else has to agree or like it. All right. So Kevin was saying these relationship goals, right? These celebrity couples, these myths that are pushed in our face, are really hurting us because we believe that's real and it's not real, ladies. So if there's no other lesson, rip the Band-Aid off. There is no perfect marriage. There is no power couple. There is nothing that will be perfect. You're going to have to work on it. All right. So Kevin talked a little bit about other marriages, and he was talking about other communities who seem to have gotten marriage right, if you will. They're coupling up and moving on and having their lives. And even when they don't, if they break up, I think he said like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, it doesn't rock the world because it wasn't like everything was built up, the thing had to work. You know, when I think about some celebrity divorces, and yes, there's scandals and there's all that stuff, but I remember when Bill and Melinda Gates divorced and separated, they released a joint statement and went on about their lives. And of course, people had questions, but there was nothing that was earth shattering. You know, I think we were probably more shocked about it than they appeared to be. I mean, whose business is that? The point is, there are different reasons why people get married, and especially when you have a brand. And I think what you can learn about this, you know, I always tell my students, you are creating a brand, right? You are known for something. Ask yourself, what do people know you for? But when you have a brand, you are making sure that the wife that you choose complements that brand. And that applied even to Mr. President told me a farmer is looking for a farmer's wife, and executive is looking for executive wife. So they know what they're looking for. And at those levels, love could be a component of it, but it's not always a component of it. So that's the problem when you look through, you know, your lens and you say, oh my gosh, that's the relationship that I want. You don't know if maybe they're just getting together for the photo op and they live completely separate lives. You never know what's going on in someone else's relationship. So you don't want to hang your hat on it that way or the highway. All right. You only have, ladies, one, maybe two chances at real love and marriage if that's something that you want in life. So wasting your time waiting for one day my prince will come might end you up alone. All right. Bria agrees. I understand. Okay. So, moving on in his monologue, Kevin was talking about how a lot of times us as modern women, professional women, we will judge our relationship outcome based on the degrees and the professional success that we have. And that's never going to be an apples to apples comparison. Like we've already established, unless you want to be the one out front, unless you want to be the masculine role in the relationship, most of the time men look at our accomplishments like, okay, that's great. And here's the reason why, late before you get upset and offended. I said this before, where I think we women are really good in the short term, but I don't think we do as good of a job thinking long term as men do. Men know that when it comes out with that big law degree or that big, STEM degree or anything, she's going to give corporate or career about 10 good years, maybe, before she starts looking for ways to set it down. Ask yourself, ladies, be honest. Those of you that thought you were going to love, huffing around like I used to do, and that long commute and the long days and the meetings and the travel and all that stuff. It was exciting in the beginning, right? It was fun. It was great. And then you get to your mid-30s and nature takes over and you're just kind of like, I don't really love it as much as I thought I would. Not all, not all, not all. If you think you can, keep going, burning the candle at both ends, be my guest. But I'm speaking from my own experience. I remember Maggie at 25, and I had a lot of energy. I had even more then, but you will start to slow down, all right? Bria says, that's all right. She has a master's degree, so do I, but y'all never hear me talk about it because I don't want anybody to expect master's degree results from me. I'm struggling through this thing like you all are. And just be very careful about that, ladies. And a little side note that Mr. President said, be very careful bragging about your accomplishments. I'm a PhD or all these things that you have, because men are going to apply that to every area of your life. So if you can't wait to tell somebody about your promotion, about your title, about the letters behind your name, okay, great. You got a PhD. Hopefully you got PhD savings. Hope you got PhD discipline. Hope you got PhD clean house. Hope you got all those things. Just be very careful about it, ladies. I think sometimes we mess ourselves up thinking that that one piece of paper that we have is going to wash everything else away, and it will not. All right, let us continue. So, Kevin saying again, when we're talking about the power couples, we have this belief or this myth that we're going to marry up. And, sometimes, yes, that may happen, but most of the time, average people marry other average people. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we're like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a small town girl. So I just need to be with a small town guy, and we'll work together. And over the years, we'll build something amazing, right? That's what we've done. I don't think that it makes sense to forsake everything that's close to your grasp for that one chance at band camp that you think, Prince Charming is going to come through and the slipper is going to fit you and only you. Ladies, we're not as special as we think we are. Hello, BLJ the General. Very exciting to see you in here. Got some big news coming up soon. I won't say anything unless you allow it. So I will continue on, but thank you for being one of my day ones and a huge sponsor of the space. Okay. Jam YouTube says, my business partners and I have worked corporate for a decade as engineers, and there's always women we work with who want a power couple relationship with us. They use words like partner, and he's vomiting. And I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to think about it as well. I was going to say something about it as well. Sometimes I feel like I am repeating myself, but I always have to remember that people are hearing it for the first time. Ladies, the word partner, not only is it not romantic, but men don't believe us when we say partner, because if we're being very honest, The way men look at it, oh, you want to be a partner? Okay, you're up at 6 a.m. with me. You're hitting the bricks at dark 30 with me. Okay, I'm tired. I'm sitting down now. It's your turn to get out front and go just as hard. If we really look at it that way, we're probably like, that's not exactly what I meant. That's how men interpret it. Same amount of investment, same amount of risk, same amount of loss. Now, if we're being very honest with ourselves, ladies, usually we want the man to go out there and do the heavy lifting so that we can have a more comfortable life. Yes, we're going to work, but we don't want to be exposed to all of that, right? That's why I want his name, his ring, his covering, his network, his resources, all of those things to make our life easier. So be very careful. Partner implies that things are 50-50. And honestly, ladies, that's not really what you want, not in the long term. You could prove me wrong. Demone advice, you've been married 29 years. I love it. Thank you for confirming. I really appreciate that. I'm not trying to be up at 3 a.m. No, thank you. Y'all see, I keep my apron on. Y'all can laugh at me all you want to, but look, I will make the stacks. I will keep a home. I will do the laundry. I want to work comfortably out there. Okay. Again, ladies, decide what's best for you and act accordingly. All right. So let me go back to my notes. I have a lot of them here. Okay. So again, we were saying that average people usually get together with other average people. And like Kevin said in this episode, that's not a knock. It's actually how things are supposed to be. Because I'm going to tell you, ladies, some of the average women that would call into Kevin's show or would, ask me for coaching, how do you find a man like Mr. President? You need to be there before he's Mr. President. That's your answer. But they think, okay, I like how that looks. I want one of those. But if you all go back and listen to this episode, I put the link in the description, you'll notice the way that Kevin questions women and he doesn't let up. And that's not him being mean. Ladies, high value men are very precise. When they ask you a direct question, they expect a direct answer. So if you can't communicate, if you can't be honest, if you can't be trustworthy, if you beat around the bush, if it's always someone else's fault, they're going to expose that. And in this episode, there was at least one, maybe more women that he started asking questions about their background. They hung up the call. They couldn't even take a hike. And that's nothing. This is basically a stranger on the internet. So how in the world are you supposed to have a long-term relationship with a man who's in your face every day asking questions? Mr. President holds my feet to the fire all the time. So I'm telling you, just be very careful. It's so much better for us to grow into relationship because you get so much grace when you've been there. The way men talk about their wives, the type of forgiveness that I get for, dumb things that I might do compared to somebody who's new, ladies, you can't buy that. You earn it with time. And I'm going to tell you, like Mr. President said, you got to give me a good 20, meaning, ladies, men appreciate loyalty and devotion. I love seeing older couples, the way men look at their wives that have been loyal and, raised a family together. And now they're in the second half and they're enjoying those golden years. And if that seems like, a bridge too far, or it seems like too much to ask, excuse me, I'm going to tell you, like Mr. President said, you're going to give somebody 20 years. Either that business that you think you want to boss, babe, or that company that's going to email you on a Tuesday at 6 a.m. along with 30,000 of your closest friends and say, today is your last day. Or God forbid, you're going to give it to, what do they call it? The street, the game. Y'all know, I don't know. But you're going to spend 20 years doing something. So when that man asks you about your, like the title, your relationship blueprint, please believe that's going to impact the outcome that you're going to get. All right. So Let us continue. Divine photo men appreciate the little things. Yes. And we do too, ladies, or at least you should. Cynthia says, I'm a wise woman. Thank you so much. And she says, I wish at my age I had someone like you around to talk to. I understand. Oh my goodness, Divine is asking me about what is trending. You all know I disagree. I want to stay on topic with Kevin Samuels, but I think it's unfortunate. I think when people lash out, she's probably someone who wants to be loved more than anything, but because she can't get it, it's the ultimate case of sour grapes. All right. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. I'm dating myself, but that's okay. I understand, Cynthia, no problem. And Bria says, my husband is the same way. I was ready to commit many years ago, and that wasn't happening with my husband. I'm glad because I wasn't ready. I needed to grow more. Yeah, ladies, that self-awareness is really important. But we don't have all the time in the world. So if you've been given feedback, act on the feedback and get better. All right. So let us continue on. Going through my notes here. We got a lot, y'all. This is going to be a long one. All right. Oh, goodness. Okay. So you all know that Kevin Samuels was an image consultant, and he started out helping men become the best version of themselves. And I loved how in this episode, there were a couple instances where Kevin Samuels was really giving it to the men. So for the ladies who are like, yeah, what about the men? The men, go and listen to this episode. He wasn't pulling any punches. But the sad thing is that when men were doing the work to become the best version of themselves, then the best that they were getting is a woman who was like, I'll be your partner. She wasn't really willing to submit happily. She really wasn't joyful about giving him children. She just wanted to be there. He had to be perfect, but she was average. Ladies, I'm going to tell you like this. I've been out of the dating market. I mean, I've been in a relationship since I was 18. So I don't really have a lot of dating experience. I have relationship experience, but what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing from women who are out here trying to compete, it is incredibly hard, especially if you had the leverage when you were young and beautiful, and now that ship has sailed and you're holding on to that old leverage, which is no longer there. They're really scrambling. So we have to check our own ego. The tide has turned. Men are always the ones who control relationships, right? We are the ones who control intimacy. But Mr. President told me, as a woman now, ladies, you got to knock me off my feet. His words, not mine. So if you think you're going to have an opportunity with a man that you admire and respect, and you're going to play the long game, or you're going to be hot and cold, or you're going to do all of those things that maybe got you trips and trinkets in the beginning, he's going to pass you by for somebody serious. They are not bringing the best version of themselves for someone who is just like, we'll see how I feel about it. All right. Oh, Lamart, the links. Yeah, they're not on Instagram. If you come to YouTube or Facebook, you'll find them. But this episode is on Kevin Samuels' page called Your Relationship Blueprint Impacts Impacts Outcomes. And it was from this past Friday. Okay, hopefully that helps. Neo has a question. He says, hey, Maggie, I was hoping to ask you, can you share your one-on-one to have conversations with my lady because she has questions? I want to pay for your time. Oh, that is so kind. Yeah, you've been around for a while. I took all those links down, but because I was just getting overwhelmed, y'all. There's one of me and there's a lot of people, but I know you've been supporting for a while. So you can email me at Maggie, the substitute teacher at gmail.com, and I'll send you the link to book a session. I just pulled it down off of my page. We have Mark here. He says, years ago, I was talking to a woman and she refused to give me direct answers to direct questions I asked, and she knew the answers. Oh, that's the worst. You want to show me you do not value my time? Waste it and I'm done. That's so true, ladies. And you saw that in this episode. All of this content from Kevin Samuels are clips from shows that he did before. But I have to say, I'm watching it with fresher eyes now. And to this point with Mark, ladies, men that are on their purpose do not have time to play games with you. And my man will tell you, the way you conduct yourself around men shows a lot about the kind of men that you have allowed to have access to you. So if you come in the door playing games, I used to coach a lady that was do that. She would take so long to land the plane. And I'm like, men aren't going to take this much time with you. But she just thought, she wanted to shine it up. If the baby's ugly, just say the baby's ugly and we'll deal with it, right? But men look at that as a form of disrespect. If they know you're withholding, if they're asking you simple questions and you're playing these games, you're just going to get overlooked. I told y'all in the beginning when Mr. President and I reconnected, he's somebody that I grew up with. He asked me to put together a balance sheet of my income and expenses. And I was like, who does that? I did it. And he looked at it and he said, I can handle that. Y'all, I'm telling you, if I'd have tiptoed around it and played games and I forgot and made him ask me 2 or 3 times, keep it up, see what happens. So don't do it, ladies. It's not worth it. You don't get these opportunities very often at all. We got Erin Laura in the house, one of my day ones. Says, good evening. I hope you enjoyed your time off. I did. You all know we had early Easter. Marcus was home. And we got to spend some good family time. Oh, Cynthia says, I'm right. And you pray that the younger women will take heed. And you're 75 this year, and you're one of those women. Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Okay. So Kevin warned, be careful about these relationship goals, relationship ideals, especially if there's something one-sided that you've seen from afar. Kevin said so many of us have our head in the clouds, and if we don't get our heads out of the clouds, we are going to die alone, all right? And we don't want that, right? Jeremy says, mentally healthy men don't tolerate games. Mentally unhealthy men seek validation from game. Oof, that's good. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. You tuned in and you enjoyed the debate from not too long ago. Yeah, that was on the Dr. Daff show. That one was nuts, but I'm glad you all like the content. I hope it's helpful. That's why I'm here. Okay. So Kevin said something kind of crass, but it has to be said, ladies, because number one, you're at a disadvantage if you didn't come from a strong nuclear family because you didn't have a mother and father that were married and worked together, so you haven't seen it. And then unfortunately, in this modern world, women are kind of raised to think that we're better than men. Kevin said the only time we come together with men is for intimate act. And then you go live your life and they go live their life. And you don't even really spend time getting to know men, getting to study them, getting to learn what they like and what they don't like, anticipate their needs, so you can win them over, right? So you can be selected to be kept around and not just hired help. Oh, goodness. Yes, I don't know about this one, Cynthia. We want to know these things about them, how much money they make. I don't know if I agree with that. You can explain if you'd like. All that matters is a man is able to take care of himself. And if he chooses to share that with you, you work with his budget. That's what I tell my students. All right. So moving on. So Kevin talked in this episode about the Facebook group that he created called The Mix. You all know my story. We started in the Patreon, and then when he unfortunately passed, they moved us to The Mix, and then now I'm here on YouTube with you all because I have a channel. But it was a platform that he stood up where men and women, or different people could get together and connect for whatever reasons that they wanted to. I remember when we were in his Patreon, one of the questions he asked all of us, of course, name, age, city, relationship status, and why you were here. Some people want to network, most people wanted relationships. I was there because I wanted to help younger women. The point is, Kevin tried to showcase two couples that had gotten together in his Facebook mix group within like the first 30 days. And there was somebody in the chat that had a comment that said, well, I don't see any rings. I've had that comment too. And, just to restate, Mr. President told me when we reconnected what he was going to do for me, what he expected in return, what his timeline was. And one of his requirements is that he did not want a blended family and that I needed to finish what I started. And I'm a divorcee, did everything right. But ladies, men don't want to raise another man's child. And so I could have pouted and stormed off, or I could have said, you know what? This one is worth waiting for. So I decided to wait on him. Now the boys are 16 and 18. But I've had that comment too. Oh, yeah, you're not married. Well, you're not wrong. But, I'm not here to prove why you need to listen to me. My life experience is what it is, 10 years of marriage, 18 years with my ex-husband, and then 15 years in my current relationship. So we'll see. Anything can happen. My point is this. Whenever you are trying to make progress, there's always going to be somebody to throw rocks in your path. I tell students about that. So the lesson, the takeaway is, don't let the naysayers distract you, especially for my young wives, for my young women that are in relationship. You're going to have family members or girlfriends or different people try to get in your ear and make you miss the best thing that could have happened to you. I had so many girlfriends have something to say. Well, who is he? And he should have done this or whatever. All of them have been through it. And I've been holding steady. And I wouldn't trade places with any of them. All right. Now they're singing a different tune, but life has been hard on them. We got Messy Michonne coming in with the $10 super sticker. Oh, thank you so much for the support, y'all. Messy Michonne is my guilty pleasure. I ninja watch her streams and she is going in. Thank you. Thank you for the support. And I love what you're doing. Bria says, I appreciate your life experience. Thank you for saying that. I just feel like, especially as older women, we have lived experience. And I believe that we can teach from what we've done right. We can also teach from what we've done wrong. And so that's why I encourage young women, if you got a good man, hold on. There's nothing for you out here, right? I'm holding on to mine. And, we'll move into the second half together. Thank you so much, Messy Michonne. Oh, Cynthia, I see. Yeah, people wanted to know when you were younger. All people wanted to know is how much money he had. Yeah, ladies, and Kevin said in this episode, men are not stupid. And how, with respect, how disrespectful is that to reduce somebody to their bank account? Of course you want a man who can take care of himself and a family, but you shouldn't be questioning all that. Is he even considering you for the long term? That's nobody's business, right? Either he's for you or he's not. So like I always tell my students, you can accept with grace or you can exit with grace. All right. I see you all coming in. Thank you all so much for being here. Okay. Now, continuing on, Kevin said something that I took a note about. There were a lot of times in this episode where Kevin would seem to be talking harsh to women. And I know when it was happening live, people would tune in for the clap back. They would tune in to see him go off. It was kind of like they loved the fray. But going back through and listening to it with fresh ears, what I noticed is And Kevin even said this towards the end of the episode. My note says, you don't see things because you don't want to. Ladies, I'm just going to shoot straight. None of us get to this point in life and nobody has told us about ourselves. That's a whole different type of delusion. And like Mr. President says, delusion doesn't work in any area. So don't get offended when people talk about delusion in relationships. Delusion doesn't work in your spending. If you're one of those that you're not opening the mail, you're not checking the bills because you just want to la, 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 maybe it'll go away. Delusion doesn't work in how clean you keep a home. I had somebody reach out to me and he was like, my lady's kitchen is out of order. And I'm like, what does that even mean? So delusion is not going to work in relationships or any area of life. Meaning, Kevin said in this episode, ladies, once you're approaching 30, you've been good and grown for at least 10 to 12 years now, right? And so life keeps showing us who we are. If you ask people that grew up with me, I'm the same silly, quirky Maggie that I've always been. Yes, I'm more mature, but you are who you are. So if you've been given feedback that you got a mean streak, or like, Mark said, you take a long time to answer a question, or you're kind of jealous. You're always looking for trouble when there's nothing to be found. If people have said that about you multiple times and you're now at this, as they say, big age, you just don't want to listen. You're just being stubborn. You're just being hard-headed. And you have a right to be however you want to be. But like Kevin said in this episode, once men realize that you're a difficult woman, they'll keep you around for intimacy, and that's it. It will never progress to anything meaningful because they know they can't do life with you. One of the best compliments that I get from Mr. President, he was like, I love the way you take feedback. If he tells me to do something, the next time I talk to him, hey, babe, remember you told me to call about the HVAC and get it serviced? It's time for the AC, so they'll be here tomorrow. He only has to tell me one time, and I'm doing it. And that's something simple around the house. So when men see that type of agreeability, if you will, they're like, oh, okay, this is one that I'm not going to have to stop what I'm doing and ask her multiple times and check on her. And, oh, she forgot and she doesn't want to talk to them. And I don't know what to do. Can you handle it? You want a high value man, you got to be capable in a lot of ways too, ladies. All right. Oh, Cynthia says, I dismissed a guy that was a garbage collector. Now he's a real estate broker that owns a lot of property. That is so heartbreaking. And I'm telling you, ladies, it doesn't give me any pleasure to say this, but I'm seeing this a lot. So many women had an opportunity and they thought they were better than him. And now look, and this is what I mean, ladies, when you're young, you don't see it. This is what I mean when I say men are built for the long haul, right? Missy Michon is agreeing. Men are built for the long haul. I've said this before, but when Mr. President and I reconnected, I made more money than him, just by a few $1,000s, but I made more money than him. However, when we started talking, he had a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year plan. He was on an executive track. He was like, I want to be one of the Black VPs in Atlanta. He is now. He had all the stuff that he wanted to do. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm just happy to be here. I hadn't thought that far at all. And instead of just blinking fast and saying, wow, I thought to myself, wow, okay, he's going places and he's going to be around those kind of people. And so I need to work on me so that where he's going, I want to be with him. And that's how the whole finishing school and everything started. But my point is that, ladies, now he has well surpassed me. And even though he's mature, men put it into a second gear once they get into their 50s. Don't believe me? Find any 50-year-old woman that you know in your neighborhood, in your family. I would probably bet money that she's not trying to double down and, put it into a second gear. Usually we're kind of like, all right, babe, you got it. I'll be over here with these plates. All right. So my point is this, ladies, do not make that mistake. Here's how you can tell. And we talked about this in the wife lessons. Lucy and I are retiring from teaching our courses live, but after the finishing school graduation this weekend, I'll bundle everything for um, on demand if you all want to, take the lessons. But if a man has a plan and he is working towards that plan, and he can articulate to you, and he is demonstrating what he is going to do. He may not have arrived yet, but everything that he's doing currently lines up with where he says he is going to be. You better run like you stole something. So many women mess up because they want to wait to see if he makes it to the finish line. By the time he makes it to the finish line, your opportunity is gone. So like Mr. President said, y'all want a rich man? You got to be there before he's rich. All right. That's what I did. That's just the truth. All right. Let us continue on. Bria says, that's right. My husband only has to say it once. I refuse to come off as unreliable to my husband. Look, I'm telling you. All right, Neo Moses, I got your email. Yeah, I'll mess up in front of a lot of people, but not him. No, y'all play around if you want to. All right, let us continue on. So hopefully this is helpful. All right. So we talked about average men and average women getting together, and that's perfect fine. Again, small town girl with a small town guy now doing whatever we're doing. All right. But you're going to have to earn it, ladies. You're not going to be able to just step into it one day. All right. Cynthia says, Mr. President sounds like the guy that I knew. He had a plan. I'm telling you, ladies, you got to listen. I've said it before. The purpose of dating is to determine if this is a suitable match for marriage or long term. It is not to go to a restaurant that you can't afford by yourself. It is not to take pictures for the gram. It is not to put on a gown and have everybody say how beautiful you look. You need to be vetting, because men on their purpose are moving. And like Cynthia's potential guy and my guy, they're going to get there with or without you. So you have to be able to see that. And again, this is why the broken family has hurt us, because mothers and grandmothers used to steer their daughters towards, don't you waste the time with that one who's running around the street. You got to be able to tell that's the one that you want to be with. All right. Messy Michonne is agreeing. Thank you for the support. All right. Let us continue. So, we have heard it said in the community a lot of times, I want to choose my words carefully, but we've heard it said, a lot of times women will complain that, Black men, once they get successful, they don't want Black women. Ladies, it's not true. If you just look at the numbers, I think it's only human nature. We want people, that we can see our reflection in. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it. Unfortunately for us, the men that are choosing other things, and, look, who am I to talk, right? My kids are biracial, but men that are choosing other types of women probably have given multiple Black women an opportunity. And they just get to a point, because when a man is ready, he's ready. And I'll share something a little personal with you all. Don't want to say too much, but when a man is ready, he's ready. And you can get in your feelings and get hurt about it, or you can ask yourself, okay, what was she willing to do that I wasn't? And somebody very close to me had a girlfriend that was more trouble than she was useful. I'll just say that. And next thing we knew, that girlfriend was gone. And there was a new girlfriend in the picture. Love the new girlfriend. And I remember I was talking to my hairstylist about it, and she was like, wow, well, he moved fast. He just replaced her and in with the new one. And I thought about it because for me, everything has a teachable moment, ladies. When a man is looking for a woman, he's not looking for you. He's not looking for me. He's looking for a woman that will fit the role that he needs in his life. And because men are always scanning and men are always on the hunt, they're going to give you an opportunity. Oh, you can't be honest? Okay, next. Oh, you can't spend money responsibly? Okay, next. You can't talk to me with respect? Okay, next. My point is that when you feel like a man has just moved somebody out of the way and gotten somebody else quickly, he was already looking for the qualities in that woman that he selected. It's not about you per se, and it's not about her per se. A man is looking for a role. A man is looking for a woman who is going to be what he needs. So, when women say, well, he didn't waste any time, he gave her an opportunity to prove the type of woman she was going to be. Is she going to be loyal? Is she going to be whatever he needs? And if she's not, he'll move on to the next woman who will. And all of us, Kevin Samuels used to say this, even when you have a man, you need to still compete for the man that you have. Because believe me, people are always sniffing around, trying to find out if there's an opportunity. But ladies, when you have a man, you have the pole position. It's basically your position to lose. So as long as you keep doing what you're doing that got you there and keep focused on him, you won't have to worry. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. Bria's got the hand claps. Thank you. Everything is a teachable moment. We got Almond Eyes in the house. She says, speak the truth. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And Cynthia says, I have so many nuggets of wisdom. Oh, I'm glad this is helpful. All right, let's get back to Kevin. Let's get back to Mr. Kevin Samuels. All right. So let's humble ourselves, ladies, and realize that most of us are average. Kevin said, unless you are a bona fide 9, his words, not mine, meaning under 25 with a 6-figure job. And you all know what 8 in the face or 10 in the body and all that stuff. Most of us are not. Okay. And that just means, ladies, if you're coming into a relationship with any strikes against you, maybe it's age, maybe it's kids, maybe it's extra weight, that means that you're going to have to overperform in other areas. We can't be average and expect perfection results. It's just not real. You end up with nothing, right? So part of the reason why I do so much, part of the reason why I try to overperform is because I want to win over Mr. President every single day. All right. That's my goal. You have to ask yourself what you want in your relationship. Okay. So Kevin said part of the problem with having these ideals and what are power couples and these things that don't exist is it's almost like we want to count ourselves out before the disappointment sets in, right? We want to remove the hope. Something about us knows that we're not relationship material. Something about us knows every time we got a good guy who's given us a chance, we find a way to blow it up. So sometimes women who say, well, if it isn't Barack and Michelle, then I don't want it. Okay, I mean, that's an option, but I just think betting the farm on one day my prince will come is not just wise. But Kevin said in this episode, it's like we've got this mindset. If we don't believe there's anything out there for us, then we're not disappointed because the men were trash anyway, right? Haven't we heard that? Circling back to the question someone asked me about that comment that's gone viral. And I really think that's somebody who is crying, hoping for love. But unfortunately for her, the way she's talking is not very lovable. All right. And you all know who I'm talking about. All right. So let us continue on. So, ladies, ask yourself, are you relationship material? Ask yourself, have you been given feedback that you refuse to listen? You keep poking around And, I'll be honest, sometimes I've experienced this too. And I think this is why a lot of the like dating coaches and relationship coaches, they just quit. I believe in leaving while the applause is still going. Exit the stage while the applause is still going. I'll still be here, but you all know Lucy and I are retiring because sometimes I feel like I've said it all. But the point in this episode, Kevin said, you're not ready to be with anyone but yourself. You like to debate. You can't give that man peace. Didn't we just see that video of the woman who says the internet ruined her marriage because she posted her husband trying to get a moment of peace in the car, yet and still she was still nagging him in the driveway? And you wonder, but if you know that you're difficult, you can double down and say, well, that's just how I am and that's just who I am. But it's not going to end well for you, right? Bria says a lot of them ladies called in wanting a tall, dark, and handsome, and Kevin would try to help them understand what they're looking for isn't normal. Yeah, I mean, sure, lightning can strike. Sure, you can win the lottery, but like Kevin would say, is that an investment strategy? Is that wise? Would you advise other people to do that? Yeah. Don't believe it, ladies. Don't believe it. All right. And these celebrity marriages, we're not in their real world, right? Daryl says she was the entire problem. Yeah, that's nuts, you all. Okay. So I'm going to skip over a couple of portions where Kevin was talking to the men because I believe, like Kevin said, the older women should teach the younger women. But if there is something that we can learn from what Kevin said to another man, I'll use that as a teachable moment. So Kevin did say that sometimes, no, I believe there was somebody in the chat that he said he just wants to live the Leonardo DiCaprio life, meaning, he's one of these actors that he's known for having, a rotation of girlfriends, maximum age 25, love them and leave them. And there are some men that want to live that kind of life. We're not talking about that, right? Anything that I promote is going to be marriage and family. And contrary to popular opinion, there are women who want marriage and family, and there are men who want marriage and family. And those are the two that I work every day to try and bring together and keep together. My point is this, ladies. There are some men who just want to have a good time. Doesn't make them a bad person. Your job is to be able to discern that. We talk about that in the relationship basics class. Your job is to be able to discern that and exit with grace and exclusively date the men that want the same outcome as you, because it's just a waste of time that you don't have to waste if you do have access to a Leonardo DiCaprio and he's telling you, yeah, I just want somebody to look good on my arm to go on this trip with me. It's not going anywhere. He has a track record of doing that. That's how he wants to live, and he has that choice, okay? So just be very careful getting, caught up with the shiny new toys and, women collect trips and trinkets and all that, and then they move on to the next person and you thought it meant something. He told you what it was. I'm going to tell you like Mr. President told me, high value men don't lie because they don't have to. They're going to tell you exactly what it is. On the second date, he sat me down at the Chick-fil-A and told me what it was and let me choose. And the whole time I'm like, does he know who I am? Nobody. But I had never had anybody just shoot me straight like that. I loved it. So now we just walk out what the plan already was from the beginning. I think sometimes you can get yourself in trouble when, well, I thought, well, he should, or no. They're telling you exactly what it is. All right. So be very careful. Oh, thank you. The real Benny B wants to give gifts on Instagram. I don't think so. I tried to apply for badges, but I don't know. Maybe my account set up wrong. But thank you for the support. The kindness of your thought is what counts. All right. Priya says that's right. They don't lie. They don't. All right. Another man who called in And Kevin used to coach these men privately, but it was a wonderful window into his world. And, I'm very protective of men, especially as a boy mom. But sometimes, especially in the tech space, and I work with a lot of people in tech, Kevin was giving this man some advice about his lack of social skills. What can we learn from that, ladies? Even the scripture says, right? Get the toothpick out of your eye before you complain about somebody else. You can listen to bitter older women talk about marriage as bondage, or say there's no good men, or whatever, ridiculous lie is out there. But you would be much better served to really do a self-assessment. I had to do that for myself, when I wanted to be with Mr. President. I realized I'm like, I got a silly side. I can be a little bit much. I need to really work on bringing that down. So instead of thinking, well, he just needs to take me as I am. This is me. I'm great. Well, that's fine if you want to be by yourself. But if you want to be in relationship with somebody, it's always better for us to focus on becoming the best version of ourselves. Now, I'm not talking about going on some ridiculous healing journey for 10 years. We got enough of that foolishness. But I am talking about, if you know things about yourself, if you've gotten consistent feedback in an area, instead of worrying about what the men are doing or what the opposite sex is not doing, you need to get that in order quickly. Because what happens, ladies, is you're going to meet that one. All of us meet that one. And the problem is, if you haven't been putting in the work to be the best version of yourself, you're going to be trying to scramble and play catch up when he's asking you questions and you don't know how to communicate, and he's giving you tasks to do and you drop the ball because you're not organized. Like, all of that stuff is going to get you disqualified. So instead of worrying about what somebody else is doing, become the best version of yourself. There's no guarantees. If it doesn't work out with this person, then at least the next man that you encounter, you will have improved. Every relationship experience should make you better. You should learn something about yourself, what you did right or what you never want to do again, and get better so that you're not behind. So many women look everywhere else except for, am I even what I'm asking for? Right? Here, Laura says, agreed. Bria says, that's true. Yeah, those healing journeys, don't even get me started. Keep on healing. That's all I'll say about that. And be careful about this, ladies. I'm here because I want to help. It disheartens me that, even in the coaching space, there's so many people that know that the ship has sailed, but they're not going to be honest with you. They're just going to keep pumping up your head and taking money and allowing you to think that you can manifest something into existence. I'm here to tell you, you got a very limited window where you can set yourself up for a real relationship, marriage and family, if that's what you wanted. So you need to be very, very serious and intentional about what you do. Jam says 10-year healing journey. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't even get me started. Let us continue. Yeah, Bria says some women would call in saying they've been in therapy. Kevin would say, for how long? Y'all remember that? Goodness. Okay. So a couple things that Kevin told men that hopefully we can learn from as well. Now let's move into the calls. All right. So this woman called in. And I don't know why, but I get kind of offended when women would call in and the first thing out of their mouth was, okay, where do I find these men? And I'm offended because who are you that you can just leapfrog to the front of the line when Kevin started to talk to them and unravel their past, again, your relationship blueprint, there was so much chaos in their background, but you think with no preparation, you're ready for a powerful man. Okay. So this woman calls in and she's kind of tap dancing around it. She says, I want to have proximity to power, using those flowery words like we don't know what you're talking about. And Kevin asked her, to what end? And she was, beatboxing, you know how they do. She doesn't really know. Well, I'm not trying to use anybody. I just want to network. And, he got the truth out of her. You want to marry up. And I can't remember how old she was, but she was either 29 or 32 or something. And, part of the reason why my cutoff for coaching is 28, unless you're married, is because you've been an adult now for a decade. And this is what I tell women, like, you are spending your time doing something. If you get to the big age of 30 and now you're asking how you can be around a powerful man, what have you been doing? What choices have you been making? What relationships have you been building or not building that now you're having to ask a stranger on the internet how you can get the income that you want? Ladies, you have to understand, to get to a certain point in life for any area, it takes time and preparation, right? You don't get to be financially fit if you've been a spendthrift all of your life. You don't get to be physically fit. Ask me if you've been eating too many snacks, right? So same thing with relationships. You don't get to have a 1% or 0.1% man when in your, history, your relationship histories is, what is it, Pookies and Ray Rays. And dare I say, you're going to do yourself a disservice, and it's going to be even harder for you, because when Mr. 1% starts putting you in that hot seat and you've never had anybody hold you to task, this might have been the lady that jumped off the call. Y'all are going to dive out of the window because now all of a sudden he's mean, he's controlling. I don't like his tone, the way he talks to me. You're just not prepared. All right. Minnesota Girl says, where are you reading the comments from? I am on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, TikTok. I'm everywhere. All right. So when he finally got the truth out of her, this woman who says, where can I be in proximity to power? Kevin started asking her the questions that he usually does. And the truth is, she wanted some type of kept life. And you all know Kevin was very direct, but he basically said, to be sat down at home, you got to be a certain level of beautiful, or you're going to work like all of us work, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, ladies. But again, I think when we set that minimum standard up so high, all you get is disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And if you're just an average girl who comes from you to find an average man and build something together, because Kevin asked her, is your father helping you in your search? And she's like, oh yeah, I don't really think, he's all that invested. And you all know, see, that's the thing. You can't play games with serious men. He was like, your father doesn't care if you marry well. And, she's using all this flowery language, trying to distract him from staying on her. Oh, thank you, Christopher Campbell. But here's the thing, ladies. Once you give a certain caliber man an inkling that you're not being straightforward with him, they are like a dog with a bone. And you're not going to be able to cry your way out of it, lie your way out of it, whine your way out of it, tantrum your way out of it. They are going to hold your feet to the fire. That's why I say it's just better to be honest from the beginning. So Kevin continued on with the questions, and he asked her, how would you rate yourself? You all know, this is why I say I'm happily average. I don't need nobody to tell me I'm a 5. But she said, oh, I'm an 8. And he said, okay, cam up. I guess she called in without the camera on. And as soon as he told her to turn on the camera, she hung up. She dropped the call. She ran out of there, right? Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate it. And so all that foolishness, all that flowery language, all that I want to be in proximity to power, I want to be around these kind of men. And he said, all right, Let me take a look at you. Because you all know Kevin Samuels was an image consultant, so he had a trained eye. And she ran. And that's the problem, ladies. You don't recover from that kind of foolishness. Once you show yourself as someone who is dishonest, someone who's not a straight shooter, you might as well just go start over with somebody else. There's no coming back from that. Because, like I said, men are long term thinkers and they look at how we carry ourselves today. That's how you're going to handle any type of difficult situation moving forward a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You're only going to be that fair weather fan when things get tough and we got to really buckle down. You're not built for it. You're going to flee. You're going to run away bride. You're going to jump out the window. You're going to do that thing that you do and blow it up and then wonder why you're alone in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and more. All right. Bree says, fine with being, no, I'm happily average over here. Yeah, beauty can be a curse, ladies. It can be a curse. And what I mean by that, and again, I am not a hater. If somebody is beautiful, let them be beautiful, right? We've all seen beauty. We know what it looks like when a beautiful, stunning woman walks into the room. But the reason why beauty can be a curse is because it hamstrings you from developing real substantive qualities, because everybody's just so in their looks. You kind of get away with murder. Not really, but you know what I mean. And so women that are really beautiful have to almost put their beauty to the side and really focus on developing their character, because the beauty will fade. It fades for all us if you're average. And if all you have had is beauty, and then you get to a certain point of life and you're pretty much useless because all you knew how to do was dress up and look cute, that's not going to end well. Aaron is laughing. Okay, so he told her to cam up. She ran away. There you go. All right. The next woman that called in, it was incredible, y'all. I remember we got Brandon out, and one of the things he told me and Lucy when we started the finishing school was, okay, got to talk to the women. And I didn't realize what he was talking about until I started talking to women. Unfortunately for her, she had a child. But now, like they almost always do, after doing whatever she wanted to do with whoever she wanted to do it, now at 33, she says she wants a man with class and values. Well, ladies, if that's what you want, you need to exclusively date that. I always tell the women who want marriage one day, you need to exclusively date the men that are husband material to you. There's no guarantee that it's going to work out, but at least you will only date within the pool of men that you could see yourself building a life with. Because if you waste your time with somebody that you knew wasn't responsible from the beginning, you'll be like this woman calling in at 33, now trying to start over with somebody else's kid. Oh, Cynthia says it's freezing. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me minimize some of my screens. Thank you for letting me know. All right, let us continue on. So Kevin started asking her questions like he always does. And come to find out, she had a child with somebody that she's not in a relationship with. And he asked her, okay, well, if you knew he was only temporarily employed, if you knew whatever the things were that she was talking about, why did you have a child with him? And what she said, just like a gut punch to me, she said, I didn't know if I could have a child. Ladies, that is incredibly selfish. That means I'm going to do what I want when I want. It doesn't matter if the circumstances are ideal. I want a baby, and so I'm going to have a baby. And now you're going to bring that baby into future relationships. It's not going to end well. All right. Then the next thing that she said that I was like, oh my God, again at 33, she said everything was going well. And then once the baby came, he flipped. Ladies, that's not what happens. Men are who they are. Human nature is very consistent, right? You can imagine the last time somebody tried to change you, how difficult that was. Meaning that man was always who he was. You either didn't want to see it. I'm not even going to say you couldn't see it, but you didn't want to believe it. And so now you bring a baby into the situation, and now all of the flaws that were there before, your eyes are wide open. Oh, thank you so much, Archangel 3579. Christopher says, I switched over from Instagram to show some love. That is incredibly generous. Thank you. Even with my struggle stream, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you for the hand claps, Bria, and thank you, Mark, for the salute. Thank you. So, so generous. Whew. Okay. So the point in this one, ladies, Kevin is talking to this 33-year-old woman, and like me, she was having all kind of technical difficulties, and she was having a hard time communicating her thoughts. She was a little bit all over the place, and Kevin told her, you are chaotic. And when men of purpose see that we are chaotic in our own lives, it screams, don't take her seriously. And unfortunately, ladies, if you're looking for a man to heal or to fix all the things that are broken with you, that's not how this works. Of course, we're going to learn from our men, and they're going to help us be better, and we're going to, make them better in certain ways. But if you're irresponsible, if you can't communicate, if you're dishonest, if you, have substance issues or whatever, that's who you are. So men see that. And Kevin said in this episode, maybe it was to her, maybe it was to somebody else, but average men don't even want that, let alone a high value man. And you all know women used to call in all the time asking Kevin, how can I have a high value man? And he had to hold up the mirror to them and let them know, this ain't it. All right. Kevin told her, you're not even doing well in your own life, and you have somebody else's kid. And then he's asking her, well, why would you do that? And she had all these reasons as to why. Well, I understand, but, well, ladies, sometimes it's not, I understand, but sometimes it's, I understand, full stop, meaning I no longer qualify. I decided to go ahead and do what I want when I wanted it. So I made my bed. I'm going to have to sleep in it. You don't get to cherry pick after you've done it your way, Burger King. All right. Oh, thank you so much for letting me know. Yes, Leon let me know. I just had to minimize some other screens. So thank you for telling me that. All right. Kevin said, high value men don't want to be stepdad. And I've shared with you all my experience with that as well. And you can't blame them for that. Just like you want what you want, the men want what they want too. So the best is to meet with somebody who your goals and values align and match, and then you build a life together. All right. Kevin told her something. It was kind of hard to hear, but he said it. So I'm just going to say it here because, ladies, we have to understand how men look at us. This was an unwed mother, to put it kindly. And Kevin made the distinction. He said, you're not a single mother. You're a baby mama. Meaning There is a hierarchy to this, and it may hurt, but it's the truth. And if we want relationship with men, we have to understand how they think. Meaning, he told her, "You're not a widow. A widow lost her husband by no fault of her own. You're not a divorcee. A divorcee like me, you had something to do with it, but at least you bothered to get married before you bore children. Lowest on that list, especially for high value men, is an unwed mother. So, if that's what you've done, that's what you've done, but really try to balance your expectations of what you really qualify for with the relationship blueprint that you have so far. All right. Oh, yeah. Ouch, Bria. It's true. Like they say, marry before you carry. Even as a divorcee, I didn't realize how much more valuable I would be later in life because of the choices I made in my prime. All right. Remember that, ladies. Tough to hear, but that is what it is. And here's the thing, ladies, especially those of you who want high value men or men who move in certain circles, it's not just about I like you and you like me, and we're going to look into each other's googly eyes forever. No, they have a network. They have peers, they have associates, they have other investor friends or whatever it is they do. I don't know, but there is a standard amongst that realm of people. So you're not just going to be able to infiltrate with your chaos and just say, well, just like me because I'm me. No, they'll find somebody else who probably may not be as cute, happily average, but qualifies in areas that you don't. Okay, so don't make it harder for yourself. Let's move on. One of the things that Kevin told her, and I see this a lot, and you all hear this a lot when you are listening to Kevin Samuel stream, like I said, I would get offended when women would just call in and say, where can I get one of those? Or some version of that. Where can I get one of those high value men? Kevin said that you're making high value seem like it's so common. Like you got all the options in the world. Kevin used to say, excuse me, you can just pick a man off the high value tree. That's not how it works, ladies. And he said, a man with standards isn't going to touch somebody like this. Be who you are. If you know you're a hood chick, then, with respect, find somebody that has a similar upbringing that you can relate to, and then you both escape together and build together, okay? Stop trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not. It's going to show. It's just going to show. Just be who you are. That's what Kevin said, all right? I know, unfortunately for us, our ethnic image, as Kevin used to call it, is not the best. I'll do what I can to change it, but I want us to promote real relationships with real men and women, not the wish upon a star, Cinderella, one day my prince will come, he finds me, you know, doing whatever and, whisks me off into this elaborate life. It doesn't work like that. And you'll find yourself perpetually single. All right. So another man called in, Kevin Samuels was talking to him about his social skills. But I think the takeaway for us ladies is just like men per Kevin need to make sure that they work on their social skills. Just being accomplished is not going to cut it. You got to be able to have a conversation with a woman. Ladies, the same thing applies to us. We need to be working on our soft skills as well. And this is where a lot of women, I think, drop the ball because they get it all glossed up. And that's fine, maybe. But if you focus too heavily on appearance and there's no substance there, you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to nurture, you don't know how to anticipate his needs, you don't know how to, be a support system, respect him, protect his image, all that stuff. You're just drawing a blank. I'm just told I was supposed to be here. that's going to hurt you. And your looks, or what you think are looks, are not going to be enough to make up for your lack of soft skills. All right. Bria is agreeing, soft skills. And you say, yeah, they make it seem like getting a high value man is like Amazon. It's not. If it were, then everybody would have one, but they're rare for a reason. All right. Moving on, the next woman that called in, oh my gosh, y'all, this one was so difficult. She was 32. I think she was from New York. And she had some questions that I found offensive too, because she again was tap dancing her way around, how do I get a high value man? But the note that I have, and I quote, she asked, where do they live? What do they do? How can I find them? And what kind of weird habits do I have to put up with to get a man like that? And I thought, the nerve of you. Again, ladies, it implies that everything about us is perfect and we're just going to have to settle for this man making. She was like, I only want the low six figures, 125, 160. And you're asking, what do you have to put up with? Okay, lady. So Kevin started talking to her. We said some of the things about men get married for different reasons. She didn't want to have children. She's 32. But if you go back and you listen to this episode, it's in the YouTube and Facebook descriptions, the conversation with her, she was like a bobblehead. She was like some type of like ditzy blonde. And Kevin told her, he was like, you sound like you're playing games. I'm talking to a 32-year-old woman, but I feel like I'm talking to a 16-year-old. And ladies, we have to realize that our emotional maturity needs to match our age. If you are good and grown, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, talking to you should resonate that way. I know I have a silly side, but hopefully when it's time to be serious, I show up as serious. So when I say I'm 50 years old, you're not like, oh my God, I had no idea. You're running around wearing this, acting like this, acting a monkey. No, we're not doing that. So be very careful. A lot of times women think that, oh, I can just pretend. I can just be all like, empty upstairs, and, my beauty and my quirkiness will just carry me far. It won't. Not with the caliber of men that you're asking for. Because again, Kevin said in this episode, men get married for reasons, and the men that we want expect you to be able to do certain things, handle certain things. If you want the keys to the kingdom, you got to show that you're responsible and you're trustworthy. So when he's out, slaying the dragon, making the deals, buying the investments, or doing whatever they do, you're able not only to keep the home fires burning, but you're able to keep the home and the system, that support system, churning without him having to come back and fix things because you didn't know and you couldn't talk to anybody and you've been laying on the couch all day. It's useless. All right. Yeah, exactly. And, this whole thing about talking down about high value men, again, it's another way of not shining the light on ourselves and saying the problem is over there, or there's something wrong with him. All right. You can hear her Timberlands through the screen. It's terrible. BLJ, the general, says a woman who offers nothing other than good looks is not an asset. They are a liability. Men of our stature do not marry liabilities. You all heard it from one of our founding fathers. And it's true. Lucy used to say this all the time. Ladies, you can be an asset or a liability. If you want to be kept around for the long term, you better be adding value. Now, the problem is we take it too far and think, well, he makes six figures. I need to make six figures. He got a promotion. I need to get a promotion. He's a homeowner. I need to be a homeowner. It's not that. We are not competing as equals, but you need to be capable in adding value in the way that he needs, in the way that he's not. Men are not looking for what they already are. Okay. So this is another woman. I think she said she was engaged. I can't remember the story. After a while, they all sound the same. But she was another one that took 10 years doing everything and nothing. I think she was engaged, got nothing to show for it. Just foolishness. And you're 32? Ladies, 30 something is not young. Stop letting people tell you 50 is the new 30. It is not. 50 is 50. My knees and wrinkles beg to differ. I love all of them, but having that delusion is going to hurt us. So Kevin finally told her, because he asked her, what have you been doing in these last 10 years? And she was just bopping around like nothing was serious. And he actually called her out on it. It was very interesting. If you watched him during this conversation, she was all giggly and she was like, I'm just so excited. And he was like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. And she would just laugh. And you're talking to a grown man who had like 7 other people in line, and this is like a joke to you. And he told her when she was like, oh, I'm just so excited. He was like, I can put you back in the waiting room for you to calm down. And you could tell, like, it just kind of shocked her because she wasn't used to anybody saying that. Ladies, these men are not playing games with you. You are not going to bring your chaos into their life and waste their time. It's just not going to happen. And he was being very kind by saying, okay, I can give you time to cool down over there by yourself, but they're not going to help you self-soothe and work through your own emotional outbursts. You got to get it together. Mr. President told me, he was like, Maggie, you need to find your center. You can't be emotionally swinging. You need to get it together. All right? That's right. It can be an asset or a liability. Yep. Such a resource to talk to him. I mean, you all know, some of you don't know, but Kevin Samuels' private consultations were $1,000 for the hour. And people were willing to pay that because he was booked up all the time. So when you have an opportunity with somebody who could change your life and it's a free call, you better take that seriously. There's a lot of people that wish they could have talked to him and they didn't. Yeah, he charged. Believe me, I know, but it was worth every penny. He was incredibly gracious in person. All right. So Kevin told her, look, I don't think you're qualified for what you're asking for. He said, if you don't want a real relationship, nobody cares. Meaning, ladies, you can be having all of these weird emotions and outbursts and excuses. But Mr. President told me this, like when it comes to corporate America, nobody cares if you get married or have a family. Nobody cares if your, kids do well. Like everybody's worried about themselves. Nobody's life goal is to make sure you're okay. And I think a lot of women, especially if they hung their hat on, just being out in life or maybe their big job or traveling with their girlfriends, well into their, whatever, you think that other people are really going to care enough about you to deny their own needs. It's not going to happen. That's not even human nature. Everybody is going to take care of self first. Even what I give to you all, it's only after I've taken care of Mr. President, my kids, my parents, everything. These are the leftovers. So you need to make sure that you're keeping the main thing, the main thing. BLJ the General says, men are not your therapist. Pay the professionals who are licensed and trained to help you get over your struggles. That's true, ladies. You got to fix it. Men aren't here to do that for you. Yes. And Kevin said that we were way too familiar calling his stream with all kind of chaos in the background. Y'all have heard that, like not taking it seriously. For that session that I booked with him, like I was there, I had my notepad, like I was focused, like you don't waste somebody's time. All right. So this artsy woman that was a little bit all over the place, he told her, he was like, you can just book a session. And he told her or somebody else, look, you can't call back. And I'm glad that he put his foot down on that, because not only did Kevin Samuels make himself available at times for free. Now, truthfully, he said that he gave general advice online and more specific advice in his sessions, I know. But the way that women would call in the first time, get time with him. The second time, get time with him. You all remember after the third time, you couldn't call his call his show anymore because you weren't just going to hog up the resources for yourself, especially the professional women. He was like, you got a job, you can afford to pay for it if you're serious about making change. And the entitlement that we have that, well, I know you said that, but there was one woman who called in and he was like, have I talked to you before? And she was like, yeah. He was like, I told you to book a session last time, and you agreed that you would book a session. Yet and still, here you are calling me a third time trying to get what you want for free. He told her, you owe me an apology. He completely checked her on the call. And ladies, you have to realize men that are on their purpose, they're not going to let you get away with stuff. They're not just going to sweep it under the rug. They remember. They may not say anything about it in the moment. And this is where a lot of women mess up because you feel like you're getting away with it because, whew, okay, nobody caught me. I can just keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to tell you again, like Mr. President told me, I just give them the rope. Just give them the rope. Either they're going to tie it around my waist or they're going to tie it around their neck. But they're going to tie it around something. I'm telling y'all, that's how they are. They give you plenty of opportunity to show who you really are and how you use the resources. So again, if you show up as a taker, if you show up as somebody that's, you know what, just bring me to the front of the line. I got another question and another question and another question. One of my biggest sponsors, Thane, is probably watching from the cloud somewhere. I remember he told me, somebody asked me to ask him a question. And I try, y'all. I try, but I get shot down all the time. And he was like, I don't owe her an audience. I was like, well, you're right. He was like, she don't have access to me. And I was like, well, I tried. So my point is that, ladies, the men that we admire and respect, everybody's chomping at the bit for their time. So when you have an opportunity, take it seriously, all right? Erin Laura says, I've noticed more judges are having people return to the courtroom because people aren't taking things seriously over camera and Zoom. Straighten up that decorum real quick. Oh my God, don't even talk about how people are looking these days. It's crazy. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Fane is watching somewhere. He always is. Yeah, you would think after that time with him, they'd have gotten it right. But there's been some women that have come online to say, you know what? Kevin was right. I didn't want to believe it when he told me. But he told her, you can't call back. He put his foot down. And ladies, that's not men being mean, but they meant it the first time. And what I tell my students is this is why you need to anticipate a man's need, your man's needs. You need to know if this is a good time or if things are ramping up. Because by the time a man says it to you, he's been thinking about it for a long time. And so expecting him to say it again and again, he's told you, you need to cut that jealous streak. You need to stop looking about what everybody else is doing and focus on us. I'm here with you right now, but your mind is all over the place. And you think he's going to keep saying that? Okay, keep it up. When he stops talking, then you're going to remember what he told you the first time. All right? So act on that advice. Kevin said, a lot of these women who just continue to call back, a lot of these women who shop all kind of therapists, take all type of courses, find all type of coaching, all they want is just more, give me more. At a certain point, you've heard it all. I'll be very honest with you. That's a big part of the reason why I'm stepping back. I mean, one, I'm 50 and the boy, I'm a half empty nester, almost done, and I want to enjoy the second half. But I really do feel like I've said it all. And I remember when we started the finishing school, Mr. President and BLJ told me, Maggie, focus on the young women. And I was stubborn. And I was like, but no, everybody who serves it should and all of that. And there's nothing wrong with being a mature woman. I, too, am a mature woman. But circling back to what I said in the beginning, ladies, you don't get to a certain point in life and you don't know your flaws. Somebody has told you. People tell me all the time, I was that child. Maggie's really smart, but she talks too much. That was my report card for years. I know I'm a chatterbox. So I have had to really work on getting my conversation succinct because I was all over the place. So I could just be one of those people, "Oh, that's just who I am. You gotta deal with it." I used to just think about stuff and it would just come out and I would hope it would make sense. But I had to teach myself. I had to take classes and learn how to stop, form a cohesive thought, and then only speak when it made sense. And that's hard to do and that required work. But now one of the biggest compliments I get is communication. But I tell people all the time, thank you. Thank you for saying that because I've worked on that. All right. So the point is that when Kevin put his foot down with these women, he was telling them, you already know the answer. Somebody's already told you. Once you get 30 and plus, you know exactly what it is. And I feel the same way. There's really nothing that I can say. There's nothing new under the sun. And when I start feeling like I'm repeating myself to the same woman, that's when I stop because you may want to go another 12 rounds, but I'm not going 12 rounds with you. I've already done the hard work. Okay. I'm trying to reap the benefits. Right? So Kevin did say, oftentimes, ladies, when we get older, we get more stubborn. And he called it a mind of metal. Hard to hear, but the truth is, all of us, as we get older, life happens to all of us, and we kind of get more set in our ways. But you don't have to allow it to get to that point, right? Just like you all know how the kids get injured and they're like Wolverine, they heal just like that. The next day they're better. Let us get a scrape or a bump or whatever. I'll be bruised and sore for months, right? It happens to all of us. So that's another reason why you don't want to play around with being forever young or acting like, I can keep up with a 30-year-old. I cannot. All right. So Kevin said something else that was very crass. I think I said it in the beginning, but once a man realizes that you're hard-headed, that you're stubborn, that he's told you multiple things, told you something multiple times, and men know that they're not the first one to tell you this. They don't believe that, oh, let me rescue her. Not the men that you want. Once they realize that you're still doing that thing that you've been doing for decades, Kevin said hard-headed women are good for the intimate act, but nobody's going to keep you around long-term for a relationship because you have demonstrated you can't be agreeable. And no man, especially a high-value man, wants to suffer through the next few decades of life, all right? So watch that. Even if you're cute, Kevin called it out, that passive aggressive, that complaining, or you bring it out of me, or I didn't mean it, or I'm sorry if, or, all that stuff that people do. It's just a way of you covering up your ego. You're too proud to say, you know what? I wanted to be the one that it doesn't take all that. But I'm here to tell you it takes all of that. But you can learn to love it because the outcome is amazing, right? BLJ the General says, we are proud of you and Lucy. You have done your part to move the needle. Your students need to carry the torch. See the preview to next weekend. So excited. Oh, sneak preview. Yeah, I don't know if I can say, but I will if you'll let me. Yeah, Aaron Laura says focusing on the young ladies is good advice. And thank you for bringing me back to that. It's not a knock on older women, but Kevin said, where are the older women to teach the young? Not where are the older women to teach the older women. We have a crop of young ladies that are growing up. Maybe they didn't have the example. Maybe they're figuring it out on their own. Some of my students are in here. They just knew that they wanted marriage and family. All their little girlfriends or college friends or whatever are saying you need to be doing something else. But they've been really trying to invest their time in something that matters. Those are the ones that I move heaven and earth for because it's a limited window and I want to keep as many families as I can together. That's what I want my legacy. Learn from my mistakes, okay? Don't compete with your husband. Don't be, disagreeable. Don't let life knock you down and scrape and, humble yourself and get back on the horse, all right? Get it right the first time because it's a phase. Life really can be sweet, when you get to this point. I'm so happy to be in the space that I'm in and the relationship that I have and the community that I have with you all and the way that I work that's more flexible. It's better than any promotion, any big bonus, any big salary, and I've had it all right? So, that's why the men told me the first time, "Maggie, focus on the young women," because it was never about me and Lucy being the solution forever and ever, amen. But if we can teach the young ones who will have families and raise their daughters, and the men do what they do, that's how we can turn this thing around. The young women are gonna be the one to turn this thing around. I'm not gonna say it's over for those of us that are older, but it's just about over, you know? We can do our part, but I think the best thing is to live by example. That's what I try to do. Lord knows I'm not perfect. All right. So Kevin said, "You see what other women have to do. You see what other men have to do." Ladies, I think we know real relationships take work. When you talk to couples that have been together for decades, you hear the years, the sacrifice, but somehow you think, like Kevin used to say, you're that special snowflake. You can jump to the high value, you can jump to the front of the high value man line, and now all of a sudden you plucked one and ran off into the sunset. That's not how this works, okay? So a few more difficult things and then we will wrap it up. Once Kevin told her, "Don't call back, don't come back here, don't come back now, you hear?" Kevin said, "You owe me an apology." He called her out on it. He told her, "Look, I gave you this feedback before, and now we're right back at the same point, and I'm having to tell you again." Mm-mm, mm-mm. He's not doing it. All right. And he told her, "My words, but you can howl at the moon doesn't care." Meaning, ladies, if you know you have work to do and you know you're not getting the results, and your answer to that is to say marriage is bondage, or talk about, well, these men, or all of the lies that are so easy to repeat, you will find yourself on the outside looking in, continuing to, like Kevin said, yell at the building, but the building has been built. It's standing there looking at you like, now what? And this is what I'm seeing. And I love the tide that's turning. Young women are deciding, yeah, I don't want to be like my older sisters or my aunties or my mom or my grandma. And so at least the students that I have, they're swimming the other way, and they are having results in growing their families. So many women and my students are, having babies with their husbands and, sending me milestones of birthdays and, holidays. And it seems like it's insignificant. I promise you, it is the most significant thing, in my opinion, for those of us who want marriage and family. Believe me, when they're up and out and in this phase of life now where they're legal adults, but still, need mom and dad for some things, you will cherish those moments, right? Jam YouTube says, "True, a lot of folks are retiring from various fields to make way for the next generation to pick up and run with it." Absolutely. Our youngest, Alex, wants to be a pilot because so many pilots are aging out. And there's going to be so much opportunity for those who sees it. All right. I know there's a lot going on and there's AI and stuff that's out there that's weird, but more than ever, this is when we need to cling to each other and come together. I was telling Mr. President today, ladies, if you want to be bad all by yourself when it's good, that means you're going to be bad all by yourself when it's bad. And working in tech, I've been laid off 5 times. I land on my feet, but when you have to go through the struggle with somebody, even if you all are, working together or 50-50 or whatever for a time, one of the things I love about Mr. President is his decision making, because we're women and emotional. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, but I love how a man can just point in the right direction and kind of give clarity to the chaos. So when I'm going through a job change or my parents are getting older or the kids are acting up or whatever, I don't have that burden all on my own. We were not built to do this thing called life on our own. All right. Amen and amen to that. Aaron Laura said they couldn't handle him saying no to them. But they wanted men just like Kevin. Isn't that something? Calling in, you want a man just like him, but he asks you a question, you hang up the phone. So Kevin ended by saying, we're not enemies, okay? Black women, black men are not our enemies. I don't feel like I have a place to speak to men, but he said black men, black women aren't your enemy. We know how to do this. He used his mixed group as an example. We know how to do this relationship thing. We got to get our head out of the clouds and focus on what is real, okay? The broken homes are not helping us. Tide is turning, but if you didn't have the example growing up, find a couple, find a marriage that you admire, that's real, that you have access to. Don't hang your hat on what you see on social media. You have no idea how they really live. Maybe she's just there for photo ops and she hadn't seen him in months. You never know, okay? Kevin said, get around good people, get good counsel, and that's going to be the glue. I've had a couple women reach out to me that their marriage was on the edge. And I am not a therapist and I am not promoting myself. But when you get around people who are pro-marriage, pro-relationship, they're going to help you see why this could be salvaged or why he didn't mean it that way. He's just, being direct. Or, yes, this is a phase. I know you feel like you're doing, everything with the kids on your own. But believe me, he's busting his what outside to make sure that you don't have to be that person. Sometimes you just need that perspective to help you. All right. And that's what I'm here to do. That's what I feel like I'm called to do, especially for the young ladies who want marriage and family. Like Kevin said, we're not defective. We just choose to be. All right. So let's stop thinking that there's going to be all of these options. Kevin said, if you knew that this was the one chance that you had in relationship, I think you would focus on it. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Kevin ended by, telling some jokes, and he said a lot of people say, I didn't know you were so funny. Yeah, high value men, they're full men. They have all the same character traits, and we need to allow men to have the full human experience. So hopefully this was helpful. I'm usually with you all after the Kevin Samuel stream. It's the first Friday of every month. I am Maggie, the substitute teacher. You can find me struggle streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, TikTok, and I think even Twitch. Let me say thank you. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. Let me say thank you to the support that came in from Messy Michonne with the $10. I appreciate that so much. And our stream sponsor coming over from Instagram just to donate $50. Archangel 3579. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So this weekend, yes, have a wonderful week, everybody. This weekend is the finishing school graduation, the last one. Lucy is going to be flying into Atlanta with others, and we are going to host the ladies who are coming to a wonderful weekend. Mr. President said, get a home for the ladies. So I got a beautiful home out here in the suburbs that we're going to rent for the weekend. He said, bring in a private chef for the ladies. So I'm bringing in a private chef and a massage therapist, and we're going to do workshops and, again, just really trying to be a blessing to the women who are taking this thing called life seriously. But I'll be here with you also. No cooking stream on Friday. I'm usually with you all Fridays for cooking, and then once a month for the Kevin reaction. But I'm always making content. I'm always posting something. My website is teachablemomentswithmaggie.com. Even though Lucy and I have retired from teaching live, after this finishing school weekend, I will bundle everything for anybody who wants to do self-study. You can watch the recording because we have hundreds and our catalog is still online. All right. It lives forever. So whenever you're watching this, I hope it was helpful. Oh, Cynthia, you like that? Oh, thank you so much, Mark. I wish we could as well, but You've been one of our founding fathers, and we're so, so grateful. So many men watch my content, and I'm just blown away by how supportive you are. But with that, I'm going to let you all go. Have a good night. I'll get this clipped up. See you all. Bye.